1 Samuel 14. Now the day came that Jonathan, the son of Saul, said to the young man who was carrying his armor, "Come and let us cross over to the Philistines' garrison that is on the other side." But he did not tell his father. And Saul was staying in the outskirts of Gibeah under the pomegranate tree which is in Migron. And the people who were with him were about 600 men. And Ahijah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the priest of Yahweh at Shiloh, was wearing an ephod. And the people did not know that Jonathan had gone. Now between the passes by which Jonathan sought to cross over to the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp crag on the one side and a sharp crag on the other side. And the name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other Seneh. The one crag rose on the north opposite Michmash, and the other on the south opposite Geba. Then Jonathan said to the young man who was carrying his armor, "Come and let us cross over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. Perhaps Yahweh will work for us, for Yahweh is not restrained to save by many or by few." And his armor-bearer said to him, "Do all that is in your heart, turn yourself, and here I am with you according to your heart." Then Jonathan said, "Behold, we will cross over to the men and reveal ourselves to them. If they say to us, 'Wait until we come to you,' then we will stand in our place and not go up to them. But if they say, 'Come up to us,' then we will go up, for Yahweh has given them into our hands, and this shall be the sign to us." So both of them revealed themselves to the garrison of the Philistines. And the Philistines said, "Behold, Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden themselves." So the men of the garrison hailed Jonathan and his armor-bearer and said, "Come up to us, and we will make you know something." And Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, "Come up after me, for Yahweh has given them into the hands of Israel." Then Jonathan climbed up on his hands and feet, with his armor-bearer behind him, and they fell before Jonathan, and his armor-bearer put some to death after him. And that first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor-bearer made was about 20 men within about half a furrow in an acre of land. And there was a trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. Even the garrison and the raiders trembled, and the earth quaked so that it became a great trembling. Then Saul's watchmen in Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and behold, the multitude melted away, and they went here and there. So Saul said to the people who were with him, "Number now, and see who has gone from us." And when they had numbered, behold, Jonathan and his armor-bearer were not there. Then Saul said to Ahijah, "Bring the ark of God here." For the ark of God was at that time with the sons of Israel. And it happened that while Saul talked to the priest, the commotion in the camp of the Philistines continued and increased. So Saul said to the priest, "Withdraw your hand." Then Saul and all the people who were with him rallied and came to the battle. And behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there was very great confusion. Now the Hebrews who were with the Philistines previously, who went up with them all around in the camp, even they also turned to be with the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. Now all the men of Israel who had hidden themselves in the hill country of Ephraim heard that the Philistines had fled, and they pursued them closely in the battle. So Yahweh saved Israel that day, and the battle spread beyond Beth-aven. Now the men of Israel were hard pressed on that day, and Saul had put the people under oath, saying, "Cursed be the man who eats food before evening, and until I have avenged myself on my enemies." So none of the people tasted food. Now all the people of the land entered the forest, and there was honey on the ground. So the people entered the forest, and behold, there was a flow of honey. But no man put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the sworn oath. But Jonathan had not heard when his father put the people under a sworn oath. Therefore he put out the end of the staff that was in his hand, and dipped it in the honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes brightened. Then one of the people answered and said, "Your father strictly put the people under a sworn oath, saying, 'Cursed be the man who eats food today.'" And the people were weary. Then Jonathan said, "My father has troubled the land. See now, how my eyes have brightened because I tasted a little of this honey. How much more, if only the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies which they found. For now the slaughter among the Philistines has not been great." Then they struck among the Philistines that day from Michmash to Aijalon, and the people were very weary. So the people rushed greedily upon the spoil, and they took sheep and oxen and calves and slaughtered them on the ground, and the people ate them with the blood. Then they told Saul, saying, Behold, the people are sinning against Yahweh by eating with the blood. And he said, You have acted treacherously. Roll a great stone to me today. And Saul said, Scatter yourselves among the people, and say to them, Each one of you bring me his ox or his sheep, and slaughter it here and eat. And do not sin against Yahweh by eating with the blood. So all the people that night brought each one his ox with him, and slaughtered it there. And Saul built an altar to Yahweh. It was the first altar that he built to Yahweh. Then Saul said, Let us go down after the Philistines by night, and take spoil among them until the morning light, and let us not leave a man of them. And they said, Do whatever seems good in your eyes. So the priest said, Let us draw near to God here. And Saul asked of God, Shall I go down after the Philistines? Will you give them into the hand of Israel? But he did not answer him on that day. And Saul said, Draw near here, all you chiefs of the people, and know and see how this sin has happened today. For as Yahweh lives, who saves Israel, though it is in Jonathan my son, he shall surely die. But not one of all the people answered him. Then he said to all Israel, You shall be on one side, and I and Jonathan my son will be on the other side. And the people said to Saul, Do what seems good in your eyes. Therefore Saul said to Yahweh, the God of Israel, Give a perfect lot. And Jonathan and Saul were taken, but the people escaped. And Saul said, Cast lots between me and Jonathan my son. And Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said to Jonathan, Tell me what you have done. So Jonathan told him and said, I indeed tasted a little honey with the end of the staff that was in my hand. Here I am. I must die. And Saul said, May God do this to me and more also, for you surely shall die, Jonathan. But the people said to Saul, Must Jonathan die, who has brought about this great salvation in Israel? Far from it. As Yahweh lives, not one hair of his head shall fall to the ground, for he has worked with God this day. So the people redeemed Jonathan, and he did not die. Then Saul went up from pursuing the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. Now Saul had taken the kingdom over Israel, and he fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab, the sons of Ammon, Edom, the kings of Zobah, and the Philistines, and wherever he turned he inflicted punishment. And he acted valiantly, and struck down the Amalekites, and delivered Israel from the hands of those who plundered them. Now the sons of Saul were Jonathan, and Ishvi, and Malchishua, and the names of his 2 daughters were these, the name of the firstborn Merab, and the name of the younger Michal. And the name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz, and the name of the commander of his army was Abner, the son of Ner, Saul's uncle. And Kish was the father of Saul, and Ner, the father of Abner, was the son of Abiel. Now the war against the Philistines was severe all the days of Saul, and Saul would see any mighty man or any man of valor, and would gather him to his staff. Romans 12. Therefore I exhort you, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a sacrifice, living, holy and pleasing to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may approve what the will of God is, that which is good and pleasing and perfect. For through the grace given to me, I say to each one among you not to think more highly of himself than he ought to think, but to think so as to have sound thinking, as God has allotted to each a measure of faith. For just as we have many members in one body, and all the members do not have the same function, so we, who are many, are one body in Christ, and individually members one of another, but having gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, whether prophecy in agreement with the faith, or service in his serving, or he who teaches in his teaching, or he who exhorts in his exhortation, he who gives with generosity, he who leads with diligence, he who shows mercy with cheerfulness. Let love be without hypocrisy, by abhorring what is evil, clinging to what is good. being devoted to one another in brotherly love, giving preference to one another in honor, not lagging behind in diligence, being fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, persevering in affliction, being devoted to prayer, contributing to the needs of the saints, pursuing hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. By being of the same mind toward one another, not being haughty in mind, but associating with the humble. Do not be wise in your own mind. Never paying back evil for evil to anyone, respecting what is good in the sight of all men. If possible, so far as it depends on you, being at peace with all men. Never taking your own revenge, beloved. Instead, leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." But if your enemy is hungry, feed him, and if he is thirsty, give him a drink. For in so doing you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Jeremiah 51. Thus says Yahweh, Behold, I am going to arouse against Babylon and against the inhabitants of Leb-Kamai the spirit of a destroyer. I will send strangers to Babylon that they may winnow her and may empty her land to destruction. For on every side they will be against her in the day of her calamity. Let not him who bends his bow bend it, nor let him rise up in his scale armor. So do not spare her young men. Devote all her army to destruction. They will fall down slain in the land of the Chaldeans and pierced through in their streets. For neither Israel nor Judah has been widowed by his God, by Yahweh of hosts, although their land is full of guilt before the Holy One of Israel. Flee from the midst of Babylon, and each of you escape with his life. Do not be silenced in her iniquity, for this is Yahweh's time of vengeance. He is going to render recompense to her. Babylon has been a golden cup in the hand of Yahweh, intoxicating all the earth. The nations have drunk of her wine, therefore the nations are going mad. Suddenly Babylon has fallen and been broken. Wail over her, take balm for her pain, perhaps she may be healed. We applied healing to Babylon, but she was not healed. Forsake her, and let us each go to his own country. For her judgment has touched heaven, and lifts up to the very skies. Yahweh has brought about our righteousness. Come and let us recount in Zion the work of Yahweh our God. Sharpen the arrows, fill the quivers. Yahweh has aroused the spirit of the kings of the Medes, because his purpose is against Babylon to destroy it. For it is the vengeance of Yahweh, vengeance for his temple. Lift up a standard against the walls of Babylon. Make strong the watch. Raise up watchmen. Establish men in ambush. For Yahweh has both purposed and performed what he spoke concerning the inhabitants of Babylon. O you who dwell by abundant waters, abundant in treasures, your end has come, the measure of your end. Yahweh of hosts has sworn by himself, Surely I will fill you with a population like locusts, and they will cry out with shouts of victory over you. It is he who made the earth by his power, who established the world by his wisdom, and by his understanding he stretched out the heavens. When he gives forth his voice, there is a tumult of waters in the heavens, and he causes the clouds to ascend from the end of the earth. He makes lightning for the rain, and brings forth the wind from his storehouses. All mankind is senseless, devoid of knowledge. Every goldsmith is put to shame by his graven image, for his molten images are a lie, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, a work of mockery. In the time of their punishment they will perish. The portion of Jacob is not like these, for the Maker of all is he, and of the tribe of his inheritance, Yahweh of hosts is his name. He says, You are my instrument of shattering, my weapon of war. And with you I shatter nations, and with you I destroy kingdoms. With you I shatter the horse and his rider, and with you I shatter the chariot and its rider, and with you I shatter man and woman, and with you I shatter old man and youth, and with you I shatter choice man and virgin, and with you I shatter the shepherd and his flock, And with you I shatter the farmer and his pair of oxen, and with you I shatter governors and prefects. But I will repay Babylon and all the inhabitants of the Chaldea for all of their evil that they have done in Zion before your eyes, declares Yahweh. Behold, I am against you, O destroying mountain, who destroys the whole earth, declares Yahweh. And I will stretch out my hand against you and roll you down from the crags, and I will make you a burnt-out mountain. And they will not take from you even a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but you will be a perpetual desolation, declares Yahweh. Lift up a standard in the land, blow a trumpet among the nations, set apart the nations against her, summon against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Minni, and Ashkenaz, appoint a marshal against her, bring up the horses like bristly locusts, set apart the nations against her, the kings of the Medes, their governors and all their prefects, and every land of their rule. So the land quakes and writhes, for the purposes of Yahweh against Babylon stand, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitants. The mighty men of Babylon have ceased fighting. They inhabit the strongholds. Their might is dried up. They are becoming like women. Their dwelling places are set on fire. The bars of her gates are broken. One runner runs to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to give a message to the king of Babylon, that his city has been captured from end to end. The fords also have been seized, and they have burned the marshes with fire, and the men of war are terrified. For thus says Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. At the time it is stamped firm, yet in a little while the time of harvest will come for her. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has devoured me and brought me into confusion. He has set me down like an empty vessel. He has swallowed me like a sea monster. He has filled his stomach with my delicacies. He has rinsed me away. May the violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon. The inhabitant of Zion will say, and may my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea. Jerusalem will say, therefore thus says Yahweh, behold, I am going to plead your case and exact full vengeance for you, and I will dry up her sea and make her fountain dry. Babylon will become a heap of ruins, a haunt of jackals, an object of horror and hissing without inhabitants. They will roar together like young lions. They will growl like lions' cubs. When they become heated up, I will set before them their feast, and make them drunk, that they may exult, and may sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake up, declares Yahweh. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams together with male goats. How Shishak has been captured, and the praise of the whole earth has been seized. How Babylon has become an object of horror among the nations. The sea has come up over Babylon. She has been covered with its tumultuous waves. Her cities have become an object of horror, a parched land and a desert, a land in which no man lives and through which no son of man passes. I will punish Bel and Babylon, and I will make what he has swallowed come out of his mouth, and the nations will no longer stream to him. Even the wall of Babylon has fallen down. Come forth from her midst, my people, and each of you escape with his life from the burning anger of Yahweh. Now lest your heart grow faint, and you fear the report that will be heard in the land, for the report will come 1 year, and after that another report in another year, and violence will be in the land, with ruler against ruler. Therefore, behold, days are coming when I will punish the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land will be put to shame, and all her slain will fall in her midst. Then heaven and earth and all that is in them will shout for joy over Babylon, for the destroyers will come to her from the north, declares Yahweh. Indeed, Babylon is to fall for the slain of Israel, as also for Babylon the slain of all the earth have fallen. You who have escaped the sword, go, do not stand around. Remember Yahweh from afar, and let Jerusalem come upon your heart. We are ashamed because we have heard reproach. Dishonor has covered our faces, for strangers have entered the holy places of the house of Yahweh. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will punish her graven images, and the mortally wounded will groan throughout her land. Though Babylon should ascend to the heavens, and though she should fortify her lofty stronghold, for me destroyers will come to her, declares Yahweh. The sound of an outcry from Babylon, and of great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. For Yahweh is going to destroy Babylon, and he will make her loud noise vanish from her. And their waves will roar like many waters. The rumbling of their voices sounds forth. For the destroyer is coming against her, against Babylon, and her mighty men will be captured. Their bows are shattered. For Yahweh is a God of recompense. He will fully repay. I will make her princes and her wise men drunk, her governors, her prefects, and her mighty men, that they may sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake up, declares the King, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the broad wall of Babylon will be completely razed, and her high gates will be set on fire, so the peoples will toil for nothing, and the nations become weary only for fire. The message which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Seraiah the son of Neriah, the grandson of Messiah, when he went with Zedekiah the king of Judah to Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. Now Seraiah was quartermaster. So Jeremiah wrote in a single scroll all the calamity which would come upon Babylon, that is, all these words which have been written concerning Babylon. Then Jeremiah said to Seraiah, As soon as you come to Babylon, then see that you read all these words aloud, and then you will say, You, O Yahweh, have promised concerning this place to cut it off, so that there will be nothing inhabiting it, whether man or beast, but it will be a perpetual desolation. And as soon as you finish reading this scroll, you will tie a stone to it and throw it in the middle of the Euphrates. And then you will say, Just so shall Babylon sink down and not rise again because of the calamity that I am going to bring upon her, and they will become utterly weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Psalm 30, a psalm, a song at the dedication of the house of David. I will exalt you, O Yahweh, for you have lifted me up, and have not let my enemies be glad over me. O Yahweh my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. O Yahweh, you have brought up my soul from Sheol. You have kept me alive, that I would not go down to the pit. Sing praise to Yahweh, you his holy ones, and give thanks for the remembrance of his holy name. For his anger is but for a moment, his favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may last for the night, but a shout of joy comes in the morning. Now as for me, I said in my prosperity, I will never be shaken. O Yahweh, by your favor you have made my mountain to stand strong. You hid your face, I was dismayed. To you, O Yahweh, I called, and to the Lord I made supplication. What profit is there in my blood if I go down to the pit? Will the dust praise you? Will it declare your truth? Hear, O Yahweh, and be gracious to me. O Yahweh, be my helper. You have turned for me my mourning into dancing. You have loosed my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, that my glory may sing praise to you and not be silent. O Yahweh my God, I will give thanks to you forever.